all of you tuning in. It is an honor. It is Friday, 23rd, 2026, and I am officially all in. Bitcoin and crypto, all in. I was a little late to the broadcast because I was adding to my children's future retirement accounts. Got some really good executions today. Under 90,000. Absolutely incredible. I think about it from my kids' perspective. Lifetime gains are truly ahead. And I encourage you, parents out there and grandparents, definitely take advantage of any of those tax-deferred accounts. Get your children started earlier in those custodian accounts. Get them started super early because time is on their side. Set them up with a Roth IRA if you can, or a traditional IRA, and invest in their future, because you will not have another opportunity like this in your lifetime. I have not seen an opportunity like this since I first came on camera nearly 2 decades ago, and told you to buy Bitcoin and cut a check to myself for $100 million, which I told you I would cash, which, by the way, I cashed that years ago. The next check's for a freaking $1 billion, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the absolute last time you will ever buy Bitcoin under $100,000 in your freaking lifetime. I want you to understand this is going ubiquitous, and it's the move. It's the move to make, and it's been the move to make. And it's been one of the best moves I've ever made, at least financially speaking, in my life. And you're gonna see a massive rotation into crypto, a massive rotation into Bitcoin. Again, maintain your asset allocations. You want a dollar cost average. You don't want any debt, no bank debt here at theislandproject.com. All of our real estate that we own, our real world assets soon to be tokenized on a multi-billion-dollar blockchain. We're already in control of over $100 million in Deck 2. $50 million launch, just 100 investors is coming soon. So I'm gonna explain why I made such aggressive moves today. I mean, again, I wouldn't put my kids' entire future and bet it on freaking Bitcoin and crypto if I didn't believe in it. I wouldn't have my life savings in Bitcoin and crypto if I didn't believe in it, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't have my life savings in the islandproject.com if I didn't believe in it, because I put my money where my mouth is. And this is the greatest asymmetric bet of your lifetime. Let me give you an example and play a video. I always put out these early videos on X. Thanks for following me. We have had thousands of new followers on X at AMTV Media. We're going private soon at 150K. Join and follow very recently. And I always do these early morning videos right when I wake up. So my hair is crazy. I look a little wild, but I'm going to play it to you because this dictates the future. Again, people told me I was crazy. Remember years ago, I had the Maserati. I told you Bitcoin was going to go to the moon, and its next stop from 1,000 USD was going to be 100K. You remember that? I know I sounded crazy, but I was right. And now I'm telling you, you'll never buy Bitcoin under 100K again. Execute. You can get even super more aggressive now because we're under 100K as a part of your dollar cost average program. So let me play this video. We'll get into a whole heck of a lot more. And also, in addition to that, prayers to everybody in the affected zones. I'm still got a close eye on the extremely unnatural weather events currently spreading. There's 8 states, maybe more now, that have declared statewide emergencies as a result of this massive freeze and this massive, unnatural, completely manipulated cold front that is hitting almost all of America, especially on the East Coast and specifically targeting Washington, D.C., which, again, my prediction is Donald Trump attacks Iran with full regime change while the storm occurs. And we're also entering the weekend here, which is typically a good time. Donald Trump likes to push out these big geopolitical moves and decisions. And also, I talk a little bit about gold and silver. Congratulations to all y'all. Amazing seeing silver at 100 USD. I, of course, sold another 25%. So now I'm just riding with 50% of my silver bag. It's all profits. Keep in mind, I bought silver the first time at $10, around $10 to $12. So I've 10x'd. I've 10x'd on silver. I've taken 50% off the table, and I've rotated it back into the asymmetric bet, which is Bitcoin. Again, you always want to sell parabolas, and I stick to my plan no matter what. It's very unemotional. For example, if silver goes to $150, I'll be taking another 25% off the table and reallocating that. Now, typically what I do too, just to kind of share with you guys, I think some really good advice. I have to say it's not financial advice, but like for my kids, I only really look at their portfolios once a year. So about every year, kind of around as we're approaching, end of year, into tax season, et cetera. That's when I kind of analyze, hey, should I reallocate anything? Has anything outperformed exponentially? Like, for example, one of our positions, Palantir, has been an absolute enormous bet that has skyrocketed since I first recommended it pre-IPO. In fact, it was one of my biggest conviction plays. I even publicly went public with it even after that, right about the time it did IPO'd. And personally, you can still watch the video. It's up on YouTube. I invested $1 million at the IPO. That was one of my dollar cost average. It's been one of my biggest gains, biggest wins. It's been one of your biggest wins, of course, at school. And that is absolutely insane. It's incredible. I mean, it's trading, what is it, like a $500 billion market cap now? Absolutely insane. And the biggest regret I think a lot of people will have in their lifetime, at least financially speaking, is not buying enough Bitcoin, not investing in enough Bitcoin, not playing on something that's going to be absolutely ubiquitous in our entire world. It's transforming everything, all of society. It is going to impact your entire way of life, not just financially, but with asset purchases, with democratization of costless transaction, of non-confiscatability, as an energy play. Again, Bitcoin is energy. Why do you think NVIDIA stock keeps skyrocketing? Because of Bitcoin, because of crypto and blockchain and mining and AI. And as I've said for years, artificial intelligence, its form of money, its AI money is Bitcoin, is crypto, is platforms like Ethereum, is money transfer systems like XRP, which is one of my early 1000X picks as well. I mean, some of our best picks are now mainstream now, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP. My now huge conviction play, obviously, in Litecoin. So we're going to talk a lot about crypto today. That's massive conviction play. I mean, I'm massively fully exposed. I'm a huge whale in Litecoin. Not only do I really like Charlie Lee, but I just understand the tech very, very well. So I know Litecoin is a guarantee, in my view, in my opinion. So absolutely insane. It's kind of like when I first came across Bitcoin, it's knowing something. You get so excited because you know something you feel like the rest of the world doesn't know. And for the first time in a long time, actually, I feel the same way now. Not just about our worldwide project here at islandproject.com, but just in Bitcoin in general, like the excitement level that I personally feel is at the highest it's ever been. I'm going to make a couple predictions too. I think the short-term top in gold and silver, although I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear it. And again, I'm rooting for our portfolios, rooting for our gold and silver to keep pumping. And I think it's going to do well long-term. It's old money. Of course, it's owned by central banks. They're padding and they're packing their bags along, hopefully with you. You've been taking my advice all these years, multiple decades. I've taught entire courses on gold and silver acquisition. Of course, I've sold hundreds of millions of dollars, by the way, of gold and silver to our community here, our loyal subscribers for years. So it's been a huge win. But I'm going to make a prediction. I actually think we're going to get a short-term top right about the time Donald Trump completes the regime change in Iran. Because, gold and silver is more of a fear-based play, and Bitcoin is an optimistic play. And so when you're looking at asymmetric returns, Bitcoin has the highest upside potential, including crypto. Because people always ask me, Christopher, how can I go, 10x, 100x, or 1000x? Of course, we've already 1000x multiple times in Bitcoin. But Bitcoin only needs 1% institutional investment. I want you to think about this. Once the Clarity Act or a version of it is passed, only 1% institutional investment sends Bitcoin skyrocketing to a minimum of $1 million plus. Just 1% of the world's money. That's it. 1% of every pension fund. 1% of every retirement account, like my kids own. 1% essentially exposure takes Bitcoin to 1 million. Not to mention you've got countries like El Salvador, which are doing an incredible job. I'll probably buy a piece of property there for islandproject.com as well. I think there's a lot of upside in El Salvador, in Bitcoin country. But it is only one of the first of many countries adopting a Bitcoin transition strategy. Every country will soon own Bitcoin in the future. And they will announce this very soon. And I'm going to tell you also what's going to send Bitcoin and crypto catastrophically, parabolically higher. Because like perfect timing and like a drum, take a look at the chart and zoom out. It's only gone up only, guys. Is you're going to have every single Fortune 100 company in the United States of America and all the companies like it worldwide announce suddenly. Apple Computers will announce. You're going to have Tesla announce. You're going to have Amazon announce. Microsoft announce. All these big behemoth companies, the big tech companies, Google, etc., are going to be adding, and I believe have already added, Bitcoin and crypto exposure. They just haven't let you know about it yet. For example, Tim Cook owns Bitcoin. Palmer Luckey, who I played a video of yesterday, I mean, he's been mining Bitcoin since its invention. Peter Thiel owns Bitcoin. He's even told you straight up it's like the greatest invention in the world. People aren't even ready for it. And for those of you who don't know, Bitcoin is fractional. You can buy just $100 worth of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy 90,000 today. I'm really happy, though. I was able to DCA even under 90K for my kids earlier this morning. And so this is fantastic news. And I want you to understand that Bitcoin will circumvent gold's market cap in the future very, very shortly. And let it sink in. And again, I think gold and silver holders, which includes me, because I hold a well-balanced, diversified portfolio, notice you have people on the extremes. It's only Bitcoin or only crypto, or even sometimes it's only XRP or whatever people like, or it's only gold and silver. I've always told you to own a diversified basket of all of it. Why not win in all the asset classes as fiat currency essentially decouples from the new technology? Fiat currency is going by the wayside. Hyperinflation is here to stay. That's something we can count on with bipartisan support. I mean, again, both Republicans and Democrats spend enormous amounts of money and they never pay it back. And so again, as our primary strategy has been for multiple decades, I've explained to you in grave detail that the United States government, pretty much every government, is just going to break the rules, change the laws, introduce you to a new system, transfer you over to the new one, invent something they now call stable coins, and then, of course, a USD-backed equivalent US fiat dollar in digital format will simply be tethered to the new technology. I also told you, and it's playing out just specifically as I had stated originally in all my Lamborghini videos, which, by the way, I bought in Bitcoin. Remember when I told you to take some profits at 126K? I did. Bought a freaking Lamborghini with it. Bought a lot of other stuff with it. That was just one of the fun assets. Rotated a lot into real estate, the #1 asset class in the world with no bank debt. And by the way, what makes this so dope and awesome and cool and great, and I'm so excited about Deck 2, we'll be announcing that very, very soon, is that we've married the best of both worlds of a no bank debt physical asset that takes advantage of all kinds of real estate advantages like traditional ownership, capital gains, interest income, depreciation, capital investment, all those creative things you can do. 1031 exchanges, which the Island Project will do in the future, just rolling it into more mega mansions, tax-free, tax-deferred. I mean, that's the secret. Even Albert Einstein said that the greatest invention of all time, the biggest mystery of the earth, he said was compound interest. Yet still, very few Americans actually take advantage of this. And then marrying, of course, real-world assets and real estate specifically into tokenization, which we invented here at the Digital Noah's Ark. Living our investment, enjoying our lives, taking advantage of all these amazing opportunities, island hopping, skiing. And as I've shared with you guys too, when we're skiing, when my members ski Park City Mountain, Deer Valley Mountain, in the best location in the world, and the best ski location in the world, that's their bank. They're skiing on a mountain that is their bank. When you're surfing, you're at the beach, and you got your little toes in the sand and your sun and your diamond nuts, you're essentially at your bank because you've got your money out of the banks. Today's video is really just getting you guys allocated, understanding you're in a very short, extremely tight window. And the advantages of Bitcoin are so huge, from portability, from unconfiscatability. Governments can't get to it. Even your ex-wife can't access it without your private keys. And it's also portable. So understand this. We're introducing portability with real estate as well, since we're tokenizing our asset class. We're the first physical, no bank debt asset class in the world that's going to be tokenized. Physical assets with cash flows. That's what makes it so powerful. But all of these new technology inventions are reshaping our entire world. They're building a future that's really unfathomable for a lot of people to truly understand. And so I want to share with you something that I've learned personally, and I've seen with other people that I respect over my lifetime. And that is, don't be stubborn. You know, I think being stubborn can be one of the worst things, especially when it comes to making money. For example, if new information presents itself and the facts change, then alter your course, okay? I saw this in 2008-09. I'll give a specific example. When I was working, I was a Merrill Lynch broker at the time, managed hundreds of millions of dollars when I was a young man. I was the top hire at Merrill Lynch, best of class, came straight out of George Washington University on full Division I water polo scholarship, plus top of my class, graduated with a degree in finance at Arizona State University as well. And one thing that I learned is, that, again, you never want to be stubborn. So, for example, in 2008-09, when Bear Stearns collapsed, I went to all my clients and I advocated for them to sell and de-risk right when Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers went under. That was the best advice I had ever given. And most people actually took that advice. I saved families, countless amounts of money, and I saved people's and families' entire net worths. And that was really the motivation, for those of you who don't know, is why I started in social media. And I started and launched AMTV because I was sick into my stomach seeing what the too big to fail banks did to normal Americans, did to the middle class, did to people that I cared about. Their constant bailouts, their weaponization of the dollar, what I believe was just inherently morally, ethically wrong. That was a decision I made in my 20s, that I was going to go rogue, pick up a camera. I was going to, build this platform, and I was going to share and bring light and truth and hope and liberty and hopefully prosperity. And most importantly, salvation to the people that tune into me. And all glory to God, I think we've done an incredible job doing that. So today is really about positioning. I want you to understand the opportunities that are ahead of you, how they're truly once in a lifetime. And a lot of the times people don't invest in good things until it's too late, till it's obvious, until after the big gains. For example, silver probably goes higher from here, but again, I'll be selling more into it if it reaches my target at 150. But you have to keep in mind that people like me have already 10x'd in silver, a 10x. I mean, man, you couldn't even pray for bigger gains, for crying out loud. In silver, a 10x in silver, from $10, $12, $15 when I first started recommending it to a freaking 10x to a parabola. So let's check in on that for a minute. And congratulations. But my encouragement to you today, of course, make your own financial decisions yourself, is make sure you're diversified. Make sure that you rebalance occasionally. Don't put the cart in front of the horse. And your biggest winning strategy is just being consistent and disciplined. Do I really like selling some of my silver at these prices? Not really, right? Because the parabola keeps going up. But I also know, and I've learned from my past experience, and I'm just speaking for myself, I've never regretted taking profits. I have advocated, and I even apply this to Bitcoin regularly. I was advocating for 25% profits throwing chairs in the pool not too long ago at 126K. And some people listened. Some people have done very well. And others just couldn't make the move. And then Bitcoin dropped to 84,000, something like that, right? Well, I was telling you to sell then, just a couple of months ago. Now I'm telling you to buy. And I'm just telling you what I'm personally doing. I'm freaking all in. I'm absolutely all in. I'm in all this stuff. I mean, Island Project's my number one investment, along with my father, my team, our amazing members. And my other number one investment is Bitcoin and crypto. And it's been that way for a reason. So understand, this is what I think is going to happen. By around March, April, I believe we'll be trading at new all-time highs. I think we're going to get God candles in Bitcoin. I think it's going to double, honestly, overnight. And my prediction is I think most people will start actually buying around 200 and 400K, if they're lucky. But that's actually when I think we're going to see the big adoption move. For example, if I man on the street, most people don't even know Bitcoin is fractional. They think they have to buy 90,000 worth. And when it opens people's eyes, you can only buy $100 and that you never have to sell it and that you can currently borrow against your Bitcoin, which again, be careful with leverage, but you can borrow against your Bitcoin. Let's say you wanted to borrow 25% of your total portfolio. I'm not a tax CPA, I have to say that with full disclosure, but you don't pay any capital gains, right? So you can let your investment ride. You've got all these capital gains you don't have to pay taxes on. Then you borrow a little. You can use that to reallocate. You can use it to buy a house. You can do it with Island Project. You roll over your IRAs. You can self-direct them with us, which includes about 60% of our portfolio. Talk to my father about that. RSVP for Deck 2, minimum 200K investment. Chat with my Papa John at 808-442-2934. And you can kind of see the bigger picture of where this is all headed. Again, just like a cell phone and social media is absolutely ubiquitous today, you basically can't live without it. You can't participate in society. You can't make any money. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. And as much as I like gold and silver, and it's old money, and it's God's money, and it's not going anywhere. It's not a ubiquitous technology sphere. This is a fundamental difference I want you to understand. Bitcoin is a ubiquitous technology sphere. Okay, this is the internet. This is like buying in the 1990s, okay, Google. This is like buying in the 1990s the internet. We're getting started in social media when I did near 20 years ago when people didn't understand it and said you couldn't make any money. I always kind of joke, you know you've made it when people have no idea what you do for a living or how you make money, but you're rich. I mean, even to this day, a lot of people don't understand what I do. They're like, oh, you have a podcast. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a podcaster. Sure, whatever. It's almost kind of like an inside family joke. So the biggest asymmetric bet that you can ever make in your own life is betting on yourself, having faith and betting on God, sticking to a strategy, never giving up, and then making the uncomfortable moves other people are unwilling to make. For example, many people shoot themselves in the foot because they're so scared of failure that they're never willing to risk failure. And because they do that, they doom themselves to failure because you are what you think about. Again, money is created through mindset. My book, Think and Grow Bitcoin Rich, for example, explained that in really great detail a decade ago. You think Bitcoin rich first, then you become Bitcoin rich. And you have to take action and you have to take a risk to assume the greater reward. I think as a Christian too, it gives me a healthy perspective because I don't really invest in this world, although I make quality investments for my kids and myself. But my real investment, and what your biggest investment should be, is in God. And so once you understand where all this is headed, and you understand that energy and money is really just like water, and it's a mindset. And especially when you have a value proposition that doesn't focus on necessarily this world, but the next, in the kingdom of God, where the most beautiful mansions are, for example, that it will make what's here in this world pale in comparison, to me is a liberating acknowledgement and truth that will really set you free. For example, I've shared this many times, but great books like Sovereign Individual that I read long before Bitcoin was created, exploring the concepts of cyber money. Books from Peter Thiel, for example, 0 to 1 changed my life. I 10x'd my personal income right after I read the book. Even people like motivational speakers, Tony Robbins, after reading a lot of his material decades ago, my income just soared unbelievably. And I think the reason is because people underestimate mindset. They underestimate creativity. They underestimate innovation. They underestimate the future. One thing I really always loved about Tony Robbins is he always had this really good quip. And the quip was, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. That's true. There's no such thing as a overnight success, maybe if you win the lottery or something. But typically, what appears to be an overnight success is countless hours. It's 10,000 hours on the basketball court. It's 10,000 videos here on YouTube, which I've produced more than 10,000 videos now over the last near 2 decades. Or it's 10 years in the making of that business that you started. And what's typical, and the reason why most people make it, is they give up too soon. They give up at that point when they're just about to make it. They give up when they're about to break through to the next level. Just like lifting weights. Comes from my water polo years as Division I All-American. You have to essentially break, okay? When you're lifting weights, you have to bring your muscles to failure, which is why you need a good mentor and a coach and a spotter to help you push through the resistance. So in that respect, I'm kind of like your spotter. I give a lot of hard love. I throw chairs in the pool. I get angry and passionate a lot. But again, you need a good spotter in your life. You need to be in an environment where your friends are also who you want to become. One of the great things about our network here at islandproject.com is it lifts everyone up psychologically, spiritually to the 1000x level. It also puts you in physical environments you normally couldn't access yourself. For example, when you go skiing at our multi-million-dollar ski lodge in Park City in Deer Valley, the most exclusive Bel Air location in really the entire world, you're literally hanging out with billionaires when you're eating your split pea soup right at the lodge. When you're hanging out and you're on the slopes, you're literally skiing with famous people and successful people and hedge fund managers and that are at the top of their game. And so you want to hang out, keep your circle close, but always be around people too that are also better than you. You know, you can also apply this to sports, but the only way you're really going to get better is to play with athletes that are much better than you are. If you're not getting your ass kicked regularly and you're not uncomfortable and you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, you never grow. So I'm all in, baby. I am absolutely all in. We're in the freaking green, okay? And yes, there's going to be volatility, but here's my best advice. Cut out the noise right now. If you cut out the noise of Board of Peace and Gaza and Ukraine and Iran and tariffs and whatever Trump says on a daily basis. I love Trump. Guy's a freaking fighter. Guy's amazing. His stamina is incredible. Are you kidding me? The guy's, 79 years old? He kicks most people's butts when it comes to the amount of energy he has. I mean, I know 50-year-olds lazier than Donald Trump. I know 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds lazier than Donald Trump. So love him or hate him. One thing about Donald Trump is he's a visionary, right? He's a butt kicker. He takes massive action, okay? And he makes asymmetric bets on himself. He's not afraid to fail. In fact, one of the most famous things about Donald Trump is he's failed quite a bit, even publicly at times. You know, his casinos at times didn't do well. Running for the presidency, which, you know, the election, we kind of don't really trust the results. But again, you've got to put yourself out there. You've heard the saying too, you know, it's easy to be a critic. It's far more difficult to get in the ring to fight. Less than 10% of Americans, for example, fought the American Revolution. And guess who won? Those 10%. And it's the same thing now. Those of you that are the 10%, those of you that are in Bitcoin today, before everyone else, before it becomes obvious, before your government approves it, before every institution and pension fund says to go all in, before it's common knowledge, before the big gains, you're the ones that are actually going to win, just like we've all won in gold and silver, just like we've all won in real estate. I told you all, in 2020, during the lockdowns, go all in, buy Bitcoin at 3,500, and it went straight up to 126K. Okay, I told you to get in at 60K, 70K. I'm telling you to get in now at 89K, 90K. I told you real estate would triple, which it has. One of the first Maui properties here in Maui in the early days of 2020, I moved into it. It was about $2 million, right? And 3 years later, guess how much it was sold for? Near 7. Okay? And again, at a time of uncertainty, at a time of chaos, when everyone said, oh, the supply chain's breaking down and everything's going to collapse. No, it's going to collapse up. There's going to be more hyperinflation. Because again, the only thing we can count on is the asymmetric bet on ourselves, and also that bipartisan support will approve more debt, more hyperinflation, more bailouts, and they're just going to get creative themselves. They're going to alter, change, move us into an entirely new system, which is exactly what they're doing now. So volatility is our friend here, and volatility has always been the payoff. You know, the stomach churning moves of Bitcoin, I understand, and I get it. I understand why most people look at it and they think it's scary. But again, if you can get comfortable with the discipline, get comfortable with the volatility, get comfortable with personally failing from time to time, but then pushing through, this is a promise to you that you will win in life, you will dominate, okay? And not only that, you will build character and integrity and honor and all the things that people look up to. I don't know about you, but I'm rooting for every single one of you tuning in. I love rooting for the underdog, don't you? I mean, I think one of the greatest things about human life is rooting for the freaking underdog. Rooting for normal people. Empowering people as much as possible by lifting people up. It is so much easier to tear people down. It is so much easier to be a cynic. It's so much easier to be a keyboard warrior, criticize people, but you know what's hard? Lifting people up only, building people's optimism, giving people real-world strategies. And something I'm very proud of is we are the first to deliver a real-world solution that truly has and is changing people's lives and the opportunities that I don't think are going to be with us much longer. Look, we know where it's going, guys. We know the evil cabal. We understand Satan's in charge of a lot of this world. Okay? We understand the deep state. We understand where it's going. We know what's going on in our weather. They're spraying and they're tic-tac-toeing the skies. We get it. We see it every single day. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? So again, I love you guys. Make sure you RSVP with my dad. Let's go over market dynamics today, just real quick. I'll be doing more updates too at my school. We're doing a whole kind of upgrade to the school right now, to bitcoinrich.com, the club, all of that. So I'll be spending a lot more time doing that. But let's take a look. So, we got Bitcoin under 90K, great time to buy. Ethereum, great time to buy. I expect Ethereum at 10,000 easily. Very, very soon. Solana's a top position. XRP, obviously, Litecoin. Huge asymmetric of that, Litecoin, as I've said for some time, and I'm a huge whale, will sail well above. I think probably about 13,000. That's where I actually see it. People like to give me price. People like me to give price targets. XRP easily goes to $5, right, in the next bull run. We'll easily see $10 trillion market cap in crypto. Absolutely. Let's also talk about gold here for a minute. So again, man, just huge. Silver at 102. Mwah. Oh, gorgeous. Mwah. So amazing. 10x there. Absolutely insane. Gold soon will break 5,000 an ounce. And again, these areas are going to do well. Understand, in my view, gold, silver, bag holders, crypto holders, Bitcoin holders, we're all on the same team. The division that's created online, I think, is just there for maybe entertainment purposes, but I never understood why, like Peter Schiff and these guys will only bet on one thing and then they'll miss the boat on something that goes up 1,000,000%. Like, again, it's all good and gravy and great. But imagine being Peter Schiff and only owning gold and silver, but you've missed millions of percentage points rates of return. I mean, to me, that's a disservice to his audience and a disservice to everybody that he's been advising. I mean, there's only one place you could go 1,000x, and you're not going to go 1,000x in gold and silver. As much as it can go up 10x or whatever it is, you're not going 1,000x, guys. It's just not mathematically feasible. But in crypto, 1,000x all the time. We have had dozens of 1,000x from BAT token to crypto.com. I recommended that at MCO long before it filled entire stadiums like the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Long before that. Some old picks too, like IOTA soared 1,000x. Ajax, my AI play, which is now merged with other blockchain crypto technologies, that pulled 1,000x. The list goes on and on because people can't see it until it's too late. For example, very few of you still know that you can just swipe your debit card, your crypto debit card with exchanges like Coinbase, crypto.com, and others. Right now, you go to the grocery store, just swipe your card. It basically uses the Visa or MasterCard network and debits crypto straight out of your account. Most people don't even know that yet. And the fact that you could take advantage, like I just did today for my kids, and I've been on a steady, disciplined acquisition strategy from them in addition to the spot that we hold in private wallets, of course, for all my kids. But to not take advantage of tax deferral and retirement accounts for your freaking kids? And by the way, there's some great alternatives for all of you tuning in. And I always encourage you, because I'm not a fan of BlackRock at all. I mean, you know how much I despise them. Consider other options like BTC. For example, BTC is the Grayscale Bitcoin trust. And that's a great spot play in Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with BlackRock. That's a great play. There's a lot of great Ethereum plays that you can play into right now. There's a lot of asymmetric bets that we can play in a really beneficial way moving forward. Okay, let's get into some geopolitics. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. It's been raining out. Hoping to see a couple rainbows. I got a workout coming. A lot to do. Let's get into the geopolitics again. The big story is kind of like this ice event that's going on, which everyone knows is unnatural. That this Arctic blast in the United States is manipulated, right? We've gone over the alien stuff too. I mean, they're starting to soft disclose all that. It's freaking nuts. And just a lot of chaos. But again, even The Economist magazine told us this in the look ahead of 2026. What did it show us? It showed us a vigil. That was the artistic imagery of it. of Donald Trump originally kicking a soccer ball, although they replaced him. And it's all kind of moving in this circle of chaos. But again, something my dad taught me from an early age was not just the compounding effect of money, something I was very lucky to have a good, father and mentor to teach me that. But he always said, Christopher, you don't want to just see the tree, you want to see the entire forest. So zoom out. On X, for example, I post charts quite a bit. Zoom out of Bitcoin. This is what it looks like. That's what Bitcoin looks like. It's right on target. It is going from left to right up. And if you zoom out, it's already factually been the best number one performing investment in world history, outperforming private equity, hedge funds, real estate, gold, silver, every single stock in the U.S. stock market, bonds, preferred stocks, derivatives, the list goes on and on. There's literally not been a single other play that has outperformed. So I'll tell you this, Bitcoin's heavily manipulated right now. The elites are holding it down because they're transferring all their Bitcoin and gold, their gold and silver reserves to Bitcoin. I told you they were going to do that. Did I not say that? In my praying mantis, lime green Lambo, the Lamborghini, I told you, I call it the praying mass because we always be freaking praying. My license plate is 1000X IP, by the way. It's in lime green. It's again here at the Island Project. But I told you that's what they were doing. They were repricing gold and silver like they've done before, right? They did it originally with confiscation, something you can't confiscate Bitcoin. That's another key point there. And then I told you they were going to net neutral purchase into Bitcoin and stablecoins and crypto. And they were going to accept taxes in Bitcoin. And then they were going to confiscate, which they've done with FTX, which were inside jobs, deep state CIA operations. They've done with Silk Road. They've sold at an extreme discount. People like friends of mine, Tim Draper, he was one of the first people that actually told me about Bitcoin. If you know who he is, he always wears the Bitcoin tie. Other people, other hedge fund managers I've met in the past from Goldman Sachs and others, even Steve Wozniak in the early days. You probably saw that video. How many years ago was that? 10 years or something like that? When Donut and I were in Los Angeles, I was telling you to buy Bitcoin. I mean, even Steve Wozniak was telling us all to buy Bitcoin. I don't know about you, but I listen to these people. When Steve Wozniak, the counterpart of Steve Jobs, says, yeah, buy Bitcoin, I own Bitcoin, Bitcoin's a good thing. I'm like, oh, maybe I should look into it, right? Again, Tim Cook likes Bitcoin, always been interested in it. Maybe you should look into it. I've been telling you for years, get into it, long before Donald Trump even, right? Maybe you should take a look. Because again, always look at people's examples in the real world and what they've accomplished in the real world and not what they say. Again, when God told me to build the Island Project, a lot of people thought I was crazy. Now we control $100 million plus in market value, no bank real estate. It's only been 3 years. Literally, we declared our 1776 in 2022. It's literally only been like 3 years. We're already controlling $100 million no bank debt. Because again, seize opportunities when other people don't see them. What are you afraid of? It's an honest question I want you to address today. What are you fearful of? You have absolutely nothing to fear. Like, again, what are you afraid of? To me, being in fear, especially when it comes to your business or starting one or asking your boss, let's say, for a raise or anything that you want to do in life, asking your wife to marry you, your soon-to-be wife, going after the girl, whatever it might be, the asymmetric bet and first mover advantage is always the winning strategy. I've always called it the early bird. The early bird gets the worm, the person most disciplined, the person with the highest conviction, you tuning in that has the highest confidence level, and also the person that's willing to withstand the most pain, right? The most mental, physical, spiritual challenges, which is what builds people up and builds a man. God does this all the time. He teaches me many lessons through my life, and they're lessons to build a better person. So understand all the obstacles, the things you go through in your life, the challenges, the things that don't work out, that might seem like they went the wrong path or the wrong way, are really just new windows opening up and doors of opportunity. Another huge thing my dad taught me as a kid is, son, it's never too late to reinvent yourself, okay? It's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's never too late to start again. I don't care if you're 10, 20, 50, or 100. I'm going to share with you kind of a non-topical but life-changing book that was deceptively brilliant that I recently read and changed my life. It was the new book by Dick Van Dyke on how to live an optimistic life at 100 years old. Honestly, I read it at first. I'm like, yeah, this is okay. Okay, that was kind of interesting. There's not much depth here. And then as it settled in over the last couple of weeks, I'm like, man, this was like life-changing for me. This was a life-changing book. This altered my view of the world. So again, we're in a society now where, especially I want you to think about this from a Christian perspective, that we're all so dependent, on our cell phones or ChatGPT. We're always going to that for the answer. People are using technology. But that's not where the answer is. The answer is in God. The answer is in your holy Bible. It's not in the flaw of man or of this world. Just like AI was created by a flawed, sinning man, it's not perfect. Only God is. So again, why go to something that's flawed? Why go to something that's man-made or created when you can go to God? Again, when you're betting and investing truly on yourself, the future, salvation, and eternality with our King, Jesus Christ, everything else is easy. Here's a great thing. God wants you to be the best person that you can be. God wants you optimistic. God is and will provide you the tools that you need on your journey. This is also where faith comes into play. I've shared many times what I've been through with not only my brother, losing him to bone cancer, dying on my arms. He had terrible cancer, amputations across all of his body, lost his right hip, his right leg. I mean, they staple gunned him. It was terrible. He had brain bleeding. I mean, he even walked with Jesus. I've shared all those stories with you. I learned a lot from my brother. My brother is one of the most optimistic people I'd ever met, even through all that hell he was put through. Even through all those challenges, pain and suffering that weren't even normal. Those are the moments of greatness. Those are the moments of prosperity. I'll never forget, I've said this story before, but I have a family member of ours who also lost the use of his legs. He's since passed. He's in heaven. And he told me, Chris, when I lost my legs, he was basically in a wheelchair, just lost movement. He was a very great athlete, great golfer. He had like 6 or 8 hole-in-ones from his wheelchair. He used to play golf out here in Maui all the time with my mom. Very cool man, but he says, I was depressed for a long time. He was a construction worker. He fell off a building, lost the use of his legs. He said, I was super depressed for a while. But then he said, I started going to these meetings with other people that were handicapped. And one of them was a war veteran and just got back from like Iraq or one of those places. And anyways, he came back. He was in his 20s and he had stepped on an IED. He had both of his arms and legs blown off. No arms, no legs. And he was giving his testimony in the group and he was crying because he could never hug his children again. He had little kids, but he couldn't physically hug them. He didn't have any arms and no legs. And he kind of cried when he told me this story. And he said, from that day forward, I never felt sorry for myself again, ever. And when he had surgery, he told the doctors to put in a rod into his back. And he said, Doc, I don't care what you do. I know I won't be able to use my legs again. Just make sure I can freaking swing a golf club 1000x. And what did he do? He did just that. He lived a great life. A life so great, I'm even sharing with you today. Just like I've given you an example of my daughter. She has special needs. The doctors told me she wouldn't make it. They said she would die pre or at delivery. Really scared my wife and I mean, just pretty much terrified us. They actually recommended us to abort, really kind of tried to strong arm us into abortion. Of course, we didn't do that. We prayed to God and we heard something completely different. We didn't hear what the world was saying to us. No, I heard God say, my wife did, everything's gonna be fine. You know what God said to my wife? And my wife shared this with me. She said, no, our God, she's like an angel. She's his best one. She's perfect in everything that she is. She's going to be a godsend. She's going to live. And she did. Just celebrated her first birthday. And she's healthier than a horse. And she had major heart surgery. And everybody said she wasn't going to make it. And our surgeon, who God brought to me, who, by the way, was the same surgeon that operated on my son. My son had a minor issue at birth as well, and he saved his life as well. He had a coarctation of the aortic valve. For those of you that didn't know, but we didn't even know. In fact, we took him in for a doctor appointment. The doctor's like, you guys need to take Austin to the hospital right away. Like, what? We're like new parents. He's our first child. We go to the hospital, and they're like, yeah, we're going to operate right now. We're going into emergency heart surgery, and they put him in a coma. So we went through that years ago. And the same surgeon actually operated on my daughter. He's the top surgeon, one of them in the world. And one of the things I always loved about him too is, surgeons are kind of quirky people, quirky guys. But I went to other surgeons because he had since moved from Arizona out into San Diego at Rady's Hospital. And I remember, even though he was in San Diego, he just happened to be in Scottsdale on that particular weekend. I happened to be there just randomly. And I was able to meet with him randomly. Why? Because God put him there. God put him there right in front of me and my wife. And I had interviewed other surgeons about my daughter, Faith, who I named Faith before we knew there was any problems or issues or any of that fear-mongering that the doctors had given us. And I asked these other surgeons, they're like, yeah, we don't think we can do it. We think there's going to be complications. Like, yeah, this isn't good, They had to break my daughter Faith's heart into 4 different chambers. It's not an easy surgery. It was not easy, like essence, even though we were prepared for Faith and knew something was wrong in advance. But one of the things I loved about our surgeon, best in the world, is when I met with him, I was like, doctor, can you do this? He's like, absolutely. He says, it's going to be difficult, but I can absolutely do this. And I asked him, how hard is this going to be? And he said, this will be a medium to aggressive surgery. But he told me he could do it. And I also looked him in the eye, and I asked him, I said, are you the best? Are you the best, doc? And he said, yeah, I'm the best. And you know what? He was. And when I say I'm the best in the world at what I do, it's not ego. It's truth. When I tell you my dad is the best man I know, that's just the truth. And we're lucky to have him. And we were blessed. And so are all of you tuning in. And again, why am I sharing all that with you? Why am I getting a little bit personal? I'm asking you why you're afraid. Again, why are so many people in fear when tomorrow is not promised to any man or no woman? And when you have eternal faith in God, and you know God, and you have unlimited faith, you will always bet on Him. To not bet on yourself, to not go all in your life, to not live your best life, live your investment, to do these things, to bet on the business you want to start, to be willing to fail, to be willing to face adversity. You imagine what was going on through my brother's head when he knew they were literally taking saws to his body and cutting off his leg and his hip and putting him through rounds of chemo. Imagine the amount of fear he must have been suffering in his own mind. But you know how he was able to overcome that? Faith. Again, what this world needs is faith. What this world needs is conviction. What you need is faith. And so today is a faith-based message. Yes, the world's crazy. Yes, we know where it's headed. Yes, we know the challenges that we face. But we also know the future. And we know who wins, and we know who's in charge, and we know who's sovereign, and we know who's omniscient, and we know who's all-powerful. And all we have to do is go to the Bible and read God's word directly. They call it the living word for a reason because it's alive. ChatGPT ain't alive, folks. Grok ain't alive. Your social media feed, Doritos. The Holy Word, the gospel, is a living thing. That is a source, and that's where the answers are. And so again, I say this a lot, but I think one of the greatest things that I'm proud of, but also it's in reverse, is that the notches on our belt are the people that we save and bring to the Lord and the disciples that we make. And one of the amazing things, my dad will even give you this testimony because he's given it to me, maybe not publicly, but one of the things that's increased our faith a lot, especially my father's, is the faith of our members, the faith of our community, the God-fearing individuals, the men and the women and the sons and the daughters and the families and the grandparents that are a part of our project. As much as we can do our best to share love and hope for the future with others and bring people to God, you tuning in are doing the same for us and for your friends and for your children and your grandchildren. And so today, Friday the 23rd, 2026, is truly a historical opportunity for all of you. And there's a reason why I titled this video, 1000X, Breaking, I Just Went All In, because I always bet on myself. And I always go all in. There's no other option but to go all in. Could you imagine not going all in your own life? Could you imagine not going all in these asymmetric opportunities that are going to pass you by? Could you imagine living a life full of regret? I mean, my gosh, that's the definition of hell, in my opinion. Separation from God, lack of faith, regret. You know, I think about it from my brother's perspective, and I'm sure, we all have some regrets in our life, but I think mostly my brother lived a fantastic life. I think his journey here in this temporal world, which is fake anyways, and the bodies we have are just vehicles, but our soul goes on to live forever. We're given new bodies. My brother's running around right now, walking, singing with the angels, and so are all your loved ones that had conviction and faith and know Christ and have been baptized in the blood of Jesus and have given their souls to him and put in trust in him. But, the greatest deception of this world is, number one, that he doesn't exist. The greatest deception and con is that you don't matter and that the world is all powerful. And somehow, these people, politicians or institutions are in control when they're not. Every great civilization is governed by God. Every leader, including Trump, has been appointed by God. Whether they're good or bad, he's been appointed by the king. So again, understand the opportunity we're facing and the glory that we can bring and the light we can position to the world and the example that we can set to others around us with a passion, faith first, God first life, and leading the charge and frankly showing other people how it's done. So today, I want you to take action. I want you to do two things. One, change your mindset. 1000x it. Have unlimited faith in God. Believe in yourself. Bet on yourself. Two, I want you to RSVP. Call, text my dad because we're about to go live with Deck 2. RSVP with them. 808-442-2934. And by the way, you can go to our website. That's 808-442-2934 at islandproject.com, and you can see our host of already acquired properties. We've been updating our property portfolio, and you can also thumb through all of our amazing locations from Honolulu to Kapalua to the Big Island to Malibu to the Kauai to the Park City to the Thailand Booyah. And the list goes on and on, straight viewing all the properties. You can check them out, and you can book your freaking lifestyle investment with us immediately after you fund. Don't let the opportunity pass you. Don't live life in regret. Don't miss the biggest asymmetric return or opportunity of your life. Do something big and bold, which is what we stand for here at the Island Project, the Digital Noah's Ark, living our investment, and 1000 freaking Xing. Because you know what? It's about God first, and the rest will follow. And the tools will be provided. And just like the birds of the air are taken care of, you think God won't take care of you. You are what you think about. Everything you think about becomes your reality. The actions you take and the discipline you have and the moves you make dictate your future. And if you don't have what you want in your life today, it's because your inputs are wrong. And if something isn't working, it means you're doing something wrong. And that means you need to alter your approach to get the result that you actually want. And these are all truths that we know from the Bible, from God, from motivational speakers like Tony Robbins, from great minds and successful business people like Peter Thiel and others. In fact, in his book, 0 to 1, one of his main points is, when it comes to a company, you always want to have a monopoly. You don't want any competition. Businesses with competition suck. You want a monopoly, something people can't replicate, something other people can't do, something that's completely unique, something that's asymmetric, something that dominates a specific niche no one else can. And how do you do that? Through strategy, through conviction, through first mover advantage, through creativity, through intellectual property, through technology. Guys, wait until you see our blockchain. This is going to be a freaking joke. Absolutely going to revolutionize all of real estate. It's going to revolutionize traditional real estate. Costless, near costless transactions, ownership, purchase instantaneously, a fractional real estate all around the world, compounding gains, dividends, tax advantages, a depreciation, and you can freaking use it. Are you freaking kidding me? And you got the general and freaking Papa John. I mean, come on. 400 freaking investors. Are you freaking kidding me? Thousand freaking X to the moon and freaking build. Because I am your general. And we've gotten it right. So bet on yourself. Go to our website. Talk to my dad. Have a beautiful Friday. Stay tuned and make sure you RSVP now because the window is closing. And the greatest asymmetric bet you can ever make is the Island Project and betting on God and yourself. God bless you. Jesus Christ is King. I love you. You are special. You are amazing. And you are invincible through Jesus Christ, our King. Cody, I love you, man. I love all you tuning in. You're the best, and I'm grateful to know you. But again, if I don't know you, I can't cash flow you. Links below. IslandProject.com, here and down here. Take care.